Hey guys, welcome back to D2 Destinations. This video is part of our travel series, and today we're off to Cleveland, Ohio. I have a wedding up there. My niece is actually getting married, but if you're in the Cleveland area, one of the things you really want to check out is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So stay tuned. We're going to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before we go off to the wedding. It's going to be a fantastic time while we're there, but boy, do I have a story to tell you about the trip up and the trip back. Oh my. If you're ever in the Cleveland, Ohio area, I would recommend taking a short stroll down and seeing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Even got the t-shirt. So they have everything in there. Les Paul's guitar. They have Elvis's outfits and his motorcycle. The Memphis Recording Service studio and some of the equipment where they recorded some of Elvis's greatest hits. Of course, Hermits, Neil Young, the Rolling Stones, and they had one of their Mellotrons there. They had exhibits with the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, and they also had U2, Tom Petty, and the surprise was they had Taylor Swift's outfit, and it was much larger than I thought it was. She's actually a pretty tall lady. They had Sheryl Crow's outfits, and one of the really cool parts is they have an interactive garage band area where they have these little sections set up like a garage, and you get to play the guitar or the drums and really get that garage band feel playing the actual instruments, and that was a lot of fun. They also have exhibits with Willie Nelson, Pink Floyd, The Wall. They have the huge panoramic wall scene set up. They have John Bon Jovi's motorcycle there. And the whole building is built in the pyramid shape, and you start downstairs and slowly work your way up to the top. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous venue. And George Thorogood amplifier was there. Michael Jackson's shoes and jacket. That was pretty cool to see. And then, of course, a tremendous gift shop. So if you're in the Cleveland area, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is certainly a really cool place to go. We were there, of course, for the wedding. And the time we were there was absolutely fantastic. The issue was that was the weekend of the CrowdStrike problem. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they did an update on their software system. So basically, when we got to the airport, we had checked the weather. The weather was fantastic. It was going to be basically a 5% chance of rain in Cleveland, 68 to 82 degrees, mostly sunny. So we really thought that this would be a tremendous trip. We arrived at the airport about 5:50 a.m., well in time for our 7:38 departure. And as soon as we walked in the door, there was a sea of people at the Delta counter. And I looked over to Deb and I said, oh man, I'm glad we're not flying Delta. But we went around the corner, American Airlines, same thing. We were like, what is going on? And that's when we found out about the software glitch that really put a hole in the weekend for everybody. So it was a struggle getting out of there. We were delayed by about almost a half hour. We were flying into Charlotte and we had a connector flight, and it looked like we were going to be able to make that flight, but when we landed, our aircraft didn't have a gate to go to. So we had to wait for about 10 minutes in the middle of nowhere in the airport waiting for a gate. Once the pilot finally came on, and I'm watching my watch going, oh my goodness, we got to go. We got to catch this next flight. We get up to the gate and there's no crew to open the door or move the gangway. We sat there for another 25 to 30 minutes just sitting on the airplane. And I watched our time go past of where our next flight was taking off. We finally got off the airplane and we scrambled to see where the next gate was, and we ran to the gate, and fortunately that flight was delayed by about 25 or 30 minutes as well. We got to the gate just as the last group was being called. So we got on our plane and we were a little late getting into Cleveland. We were picked up from the airport and we called the hotel to check in. And lo and behold, guess what? CrowdStrike also affected all of the hotels. They were unable to check people out. They were unable to check people in. And we were like, we've got things to do. We would really like to check into our room and get changed and go do these things. We could not check into our hotel room until 6 o'clock that night. Unbelievable. Then we finally got to the hotel, got changed, went out to 4th Street. If you're in Cleveland, 4th Street's a great little area with bars and restaurants and nightlife, live bands, and it's right in the middle of a lot of the action downtown. Great area, great food, a lot of fun. So the next day we wake up, and that's when we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Had a great time there, but the wedding was 6 o'clock that night. So we planned on touring the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. After that, we had lunch in a beautiful little cafe, and then we went back to the hotel, and we had enough time to get ready just for the wedding, but our key didn't work. Somehow, the CrowdStrike system and the implementation of all of the reservation systems, it locked out all the keys. So I had to go back down to the front desk, and now there's a line of everybody there trying to get rekeyed. So that was a nightmare and almost ended up making us a little later than we should have for the wedding. Went to the wedding. Fantastic, fantastic venue. If you're ever in that area, the Great Lakes Science Center is right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that's where the wedding was. It was outdoors. It was beautiful. It was just a wonderful venue, but it was a little warm. It was about 84 degrees. So it was nice to be outside for the wedding, but then the reception was inside. Long story short, we get back to the hotel that night. Guess what? Key didn't work again. I was like, are you kidding me? So I had to come back down from the 17th floor, get rekeyed again. And again, there were some other people waiting to get rekeyed, and it was just ridiculous. So the next day, we decide that we're going to leave. Our flight is at like 3:30 in the afternoon. So we leave about 2 o'clock to go on our trip to the airport. So we're there in plenty of time. We left at 1:30, so we were there by 2 o'clock. Everything was on time. And we're like, oh, great. We won't have those problems we had when we came up. This will be a little better. As soon as we got to security, I looked at the board, and our flight was delayed an hour. I was like, oh man, okay. Well, that'll give us a little time to get a bite to eat. So we sat down and had early dinner, and then our flight was delayed another hour. Every time we looked up, it seemed it was being delayed an hour. Now check this out. Hour after hour after hour, this went on. And we finally didn't leave until 8:30 that night. We had to go to Charlotte, get another plane, and then go to Tampa. Guess what? We got into Charlotte a little late, but there were 2 seats left on a flight, that late flight, that we were going to get on as standby. So we ran to the gate. We were able to secure those 2 seats. And we waited for delay after delay after delay with that outbound. We didn't get on that plane until about 2:15 or 2:30 after midnight. And so we thought, oh, well, we're going to be in really, really late. We'll just have to get an Uber when we get in. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. We taxi out to the runway, and it's taking a little more time than usual because I guess there's a bunch of flights ahead of us trying to take off. And we get all the way up where we're about ready to turn right onto the main runway, just like I had watched a lot of the other airplanes ahead of us taking off. And all of a sudden we turned left, and I looked at Deb, I go, something's not right. The pilot comes over the intercom, and he goes, sorry folks, this crew is going to time out. So we're going to have to take you back to the gate. I was like, what does that mean? There were no other flights that night. That meant we had to get in a line at about 2 o'clock in the morning, 300 people deep, trying to get another ticket for the following day. The following day is a Monday. I'm supposed to be at work, and so is Deb. So, the moral of this story is you may want to give yourself a day on the front side and a day on the back side of your airline travel if you're planning to travel throughout this summer or even the holiday season coming up, because one little thing like that, even on a crystal clear, perfect day, a software glitch set us back like crazy. Now here's the rest of the story. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning and they book us for the 5 o'clock flight the next day. So we're like, okay, at least we have that. And we have a hotel. They gave us a hotel voucher, but there's no shuttle. So we're like, all right, we'll just get an Uber, whatever. The hotel they gave us was a half hour away from the airport. $75 round trip on Uber for the complimentary hotel. We finally got to the hotel at about 4 in the morning. We have to check out by 12. You can't even really get any good sleep. And we were wrestling with that all night. Deb woke up a little early and she said, you know what? I'm going to try and get us an earlier flight because we're scheduled on that 5 o'clock flight and we're just going to get in too late. So she got on the phone. She was able to get the last 2 seats on the 3 o'clock flight. We got to the airport. We got on the 3 o'clock flight. It was running late, but at least we were able to get on the flight. We got into Tampa late, not even knowing where our luggage was because it had been skipped from one plane to another the previous day. Fortunately, we landed in Tampa and the luggage was right at the baggage collection center for American Airlines, right by where the belt was for our flight. However, here's the kicker. Had Deb not made that call and we stayed with our original 5 o'clock flight, I watched it because I was getting notifications on my phone from that flight. It was delayed, it was delayed, it was delayed, and guess what? Canceled at about 11:30 p.m. that night. We'd still be in Charlotte if Deb hadn't made that call to get us on the earlier flight. So, all I'm saying is, folks, if you're traveling, take care of the reservations. Look long and hard at the timing of things and give yourself a day or two afterwards if you're returning to make it back, because right now with everything that's going on, it is difficult at best. All right, so I'm sure you guys can appreciate the frustration that took place during multiple delays of this trip, and however that happened with the upgrade that was supposed to make things better and absolutely did not for an entire weekend. We need to have some sort of a backup system for our airlines and our hotels. So if any of you are programmers or know a programmer, I think there's an opportunity for you here to create a much better system so we don't have to have these huge delays and the costs and people missing out on going back to work and being delayed in cities for 24 to 36 hours or more. It's unacceptable in a modern society. One little glitch like that should not be able to bring down the entire system. So, hey, if there's some programmers out there, I think there's some opportunity here for you to upgrade and help us out with at least having a fallback safety system. Otherwise, hey, travel's going to become a real bear. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time on D2 Destinations. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.